this session so that we have a copy of the playback so you can watch it again later if you'd like. And then I do want to mention that I'll also make a copy of my slides available to you. Anybody who registered for today's webinar, I'll send you an email probably later on today that will include a link to the playback and to a recording if you'd like to watch it again. But if you're comfortable doing so, what I would recommend is follow along with me. And I like to do kind of a split screen. So I might have like Zoom in half of my screen and then open LinkedIn on the other side. And you kind of follow along with me for some of the tips if you're comfortable doing so. If not, watch it. You know, you can watch the playback and then you might want to pull all those tips up a little bit longer to review them again. All right, so we're going to get started here on 6 tips on using LinkedIn for business development. As we do get started, I'm a big believer in kind of the power of your network and in networking with people online. So I'd love it if you could each take a moment to introduce yourselves in chat and tell us a little bit about who you are, what your role is, describe your company, and who you're looking to connect with on LinkedIn. If you feel comfortable sharing your LinkedIn URL as well, do share that in chat. And what I would encourage you to do is before you leave the session today, if you click on chat and I go under my more button to pull up the chat, and then at the bottom, you can click on the little 3 dots and then you can click on save chat. And that way you can visit some of these LinkedIn URLs a little bit later. So I'll just say, welcome to the webinar. If you haven't seen the chat pop up yet, you should see that coming up now that we have the first message in there. But I'd like to invite each of you. We have Pamela, Jerry, Laura, and Kristen joining us. If you could introduce yourselves in chat, and I would encourage you to connect with each other on LinkedIn as well. All right, so a little bit of my background. My name's Brenda Meller. I'm an independent marketing consultant. I don't work for LinkedIn. I work for myself and I work for you, my clients. And I help people unlock the power of LinkedIn. I am looking to connect with people who work in a business development or a marketing role who are looking to kind of enhance their presence on the platform a little bit more. And my LinkedIn URL is up there on the screen. So that would be an example of an introduction that you could type into chat. But again, I would encourage you to introduce yourselves as we go throughout here. All right, so the tips we're going to be covering here today are kind of quick hit tips here, focusing on using LinkedIn for business development. And if you saw that meeting description, I was like, ugh, the things that make me cringe when I see these. It's like, oh, these are just so easy to do. Common mistakes. I don't want to see you guys making them. I want to see you unlock the power of LinkedIn and really using this platform successfully. So here are the tips. Number 1, optimize your profile. Okay. Number 2, have a business page on LinkedIn. Number 3, be a giver when it comes to recommendations, and you can get some business from those. I'll show you in a little bit here why. Number 4 is to be strategic about invitations when we invite people to connect on LinkedIn. Okay. Number 5 is to post every single business day on LinkedIn. And number six tip is to engage daily on LinkedIn. And here's the tips, and I'll give you some of the things that make me cringe as we're going throughout here. Okay, so let's start with optimizing your profile on LinkedIn. And the analogy I like to use here is that when you have an optimized profile, you're really sculpting it for your ideal target audience. And I love using this picture of the statue that's in, I think it's in the financial district in New York City. And it's a little girl sitting with standing with her hands on her hips, and the charging bull is coming towards her. And I think about when that artist originally got that slab of whatever it was, steel or whatever material, it wasn't really anything. It was kind of shapeless, right? And they had to carve things out and decide what to keep in. And that's what made it a work of art. Your LinkedIn profile is the same way. Think about really writing it for your ideal target audience. You're not writing it for the world, nor are you writing it to find a job, right? This shouldn't be your resume. You are writing it for your ideal target audience, those people that you're looking to sell to on LinkedIn, okay? And I want you to think about filling out all the areas they give you and using the character limits too, because these will help you to come up in more searches on LinkedIn. And when people land on your profile, you're able to tell your story, okay? So think about including the details that are relevant to your target audience. And I'm a marketer, so my approach is I like to make sure that profiles are written so that they are interesting for human beings to read. You want it to be kind of a nice storytelling approach, if you will. So write it for a person, okay? The other thing is you got to think about the flip side, which is there's this whole algorithm running in the background and what comes up in searches and how long things stay in the homepage feed. So I want to make sure that we are writing your profile for a computer as well, and that we're using things like keyword rich words throughout our profile and character limits so that we're coming up in searches more often and people are staying on our profile a little bit longer as well. Okay, so that's kind of focusing on optimizing your profile. Now, I do have my suggested profile checklist on screen here, and feel free if you guys want to take a screen grab of this, or what I might do sometimes is I pull my camera out and I just take a picture, because I know where my camera, my pictures are going to be on my phone. I can always find these, and this might be something you want to refer back to later. But here's what I would have you think about in optimizing your profile. Go through your profile from top to bottom, look at your profile photo, look at your background image, make sure you have one set up in there. Your headline should be written towards to appeal to your ideal target audience. Your contact information should be accurate. It should have your website, a couple ways of getting a hold of you in there. Your about statement should be written to describe yourself to your ideal target audience, okay? And feel free, guys, as you're working on your profiles, feel free to look at my profile as an example. You're going to see some of these techniques in place here. Your experience section should be filled out with some information about your company. Don't just leave it blank. And make sure it is linked to your company page. That's a really important thing. Sometimes I see the little gray avatar and I'm like, oh, it just makes me cringe. Like, it's not linked, or you don't have a page set up. If you're using LinkedIn for business development, people want to see that you have a legitimate business, okay? Your skills, make sure that you're filling out all 50, but that the top 3 are intentional and they help you in your role of using LinkedIn for business development, okay? Recommendations, I like to make sure that you have both received and given recommendations in the current year, but that you have actually given more than you have received. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Okay, so this is my suggested profile checklist. I'm running through these tips pretty quickly here today, guys. I do have some additional webinars where we run through these, where we take a little bit more time and build out our profile. So make sure you check out those series at the end of this session here today. I'll have a slide about that. All right, so my next tip is to have a business page. If you are using LinkedIn for business development, for lead generation, you need to have a business page. Yes, you definitely need to have one. I'm using my friend Keith here as an example. He runs a group called Michigan Real Estate Masterminds. When I go to his profile, I see next to this group name that this little gray building avatar appears in here. And here's what happened, guys. When people see that gray building avatar, they come to a conclusion pretty quickly about your business. They either think, one, this isn't really a legitimate business. This might be a little bit of a side hustle that you're giving you're trying out, but you're not really sure about it. Or maybe you're working out of your basement. It's not a real operation just yet. Or, maybe the business isn't big enough yet that you don't have a company page. So do I really want to give my business to somebody who is running a business that doesn't look like it's up and running yet? Okay. So that gray building avatar, it needs to be killed. And what I would recommend is set up a company page on LinkedIn. When you do so, that gray building avatar is replaced with your company logo, and it starts to create a sense of legitimacy. The other thing is this is now clickable to your company page where people can start to learn more about your business, okay? The analogy I like to use as we think about a personal profile on LinkedIn and a company page on LinkedIn is this. When we connect with people on LinkedIn, it's kind of like we're going to a shopping mall, okay? Now, we might be there to socialize. We might be there because we're going out to lunch or dinner, right? We might be there just meeting with people or, connecting with people that we've met before, or we might be going there to shop, to walk inside a store, okay? The difference is on a company page on LinkedIn, that is like you're walking inside a store in the mall. Like I'm walking inside Bath and Body Works. And when I follow a company page, it's basically me raising my hand saying, yes, I am interested in learning more about Meller marketing, okay? So setting up a company page is actually creating some lead generation opportunities for you and some increased visibility for your company. So definitely, I would highly recommend have a company page. When I don't see one, it just makes me cringe. I'm like, oh, they're missing out on an opportunity. So set up and have your company page, okay? Be a giver is my third tip. And this is really important when you're looking at somebody's profile. You can see that we can each give or we can receive recommendations on our profile. And when I'm looking at somebody's profile, if I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to do business with them, I certainly want to see what people have said about you, but I also want to see, what type of person are you? And if I land on somebody's profile, I'm thinking about giving them business, and I see that they have received 20 recommendations, but they have given 0. What message does that send to me about you? Well, it says to me that you're pretty selfish. You're only using LinkedIn for yourself, And then I start to question all the recommendations that you've been given as well. Because if you can't think of one person in your network to give a recommendation to, then I start wondering if you're just stacking the deck in your favor. So my suggestion to you guys is to pay it forward and think about one or two people in your network that you could give a recommendation to. I'm hearing a little bit of background noise, so I'm just going to mute you guys all real quick here. Okay, I think I've got you guys. Whoops. I think I unmuted you. Let me try this one more time. Hang on just one second here. There we go. Now I think I've got the background noise out of there. All right, so give recommendations. And when you give someone a recommendation, the great thing is that you actually increase your real estate on LinkedIn, because guess what? When you give them a recommendation and they accept that recommendation, now you've gained real estate on their profile. Isn't that amazing? It's a really cool thing. What I think about is being strategic about who I give those recommendations to. So if I have worked with a vendor or a team member, maybe a past boss or somebody, and I've had a great working relationship with them, I give them a recommendation on LinkedIn. Once they accept it, it shows on their profile. Guess what? Now Brenda Meller's name is on their profile. And I have gained some additional profile viewers by gaining some real estate on their profile, okay? So be a giver. This is something that makes me really cringe when I don't see that you haven't given any recommendations yet, but be a giver. Give recommendations out to others on LinkedIn. Pay it forward, think strategically about who's active on LinkedIn, who has a large network, and whose company is likely to be possible leads or referrals for you, okay? And then over time, I definitely want to be requesting recommendations. And if you don't have any recommendations yet on your profile, you definitely should be thinking about asking for people, especially people you do business with, people that can say nice things about working with you, people that are jumping up and down about your products and services, your brand cheerleaders, right? Think about requesting a recommendation from them. And in fact, I want you to think about getting in that habit when you get a nice note of kudos from a client, or a thank you note from a client. Just say, hey, Lori, I really appreciate your nice words. Would you be open to giving me a LinkedIn recommendation? And if it's not the right person, it's going to feel awkward asking it. The right people are going to say, absolutely, Brenda, I'd be happy to give you a LinkedIn recommendation, and they'll do it right away. Okay. You do need to be connected with them, and you have to request that process through LinkedIn, or they can just initiate that process through LinkedIn. Okay. But think about being a giver here with those recommendations. Okay, so that's my third tip, being a giver. My next tip is to be strategic about invitations to connect. And I don't know about you guys, but when most of the times when I get invitations, they're blank. They don't say anything about the person. There's no context, but and that's kind of I want to say kind of the passive way of sending an invitation. Not a lot of people know that you can include an invitation, so I kind of take that off to the side. But then the other category is the invitations that are either overly salesy or like the one I'm showing on screen. This was not meant for me. This was a mass invitation to everybody. This kind of irritates me a little bit. So, hey, crazy times. I hope you're doing okay. I'm growing my network and notice your presence on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Thanks and stay safe. This wasn't meant for me. This has nothing to do with me. I feel like this is one step away from being a sales pitch, don't you? So I would say be strategic about invitations to connect. So let me show you this technique right now. I think, Jerry, we may already be connected on LinkedIn. So I'm going to look for somebody else who I am not yet connected with on LinkedIn. I'm going to show you what I do when I am using LinkedIn for business development and I want to connect with somebody new on LinkedIn. So Lori, I'm connected with. Pamela English, I think we're already connected too, Pamela, because your name looks familiar to me. We are connected. She's giving me a little thumbs up. Kristen, if you could unmute yourself, tell me your last name, and I'm wondering if we're connected yet on LinkedIn. Are you available to unmute yourself, Kristen?
I don't think we are.
What's your last name?
Wessel, W-E-S-S-E-L.
Okay, do you mind if I pull your profile?
No, not at all.
Is this you, Corporate Human Resource Manager?
Yep.
All right, yes. Thank you, Kristen. You can go ahead and put yourself back on mute now. So what I want to do is if I wanted to connect with Kristen, I'm not just going to click on connect and send it off. I actually want to take a second, look at her profile, and find one or two things that we have in common or one or two things that are interesting to me about her profile. And I can see right away we're both in Metro Detroit. We share several common connections. And I could even take a second here and just look at a couple of these connections, and maybe I could name drop one of them in my invitation to her. So Teresa Moore, somebody that knows me really well, she was saying really nice things about me. So what I would do is, here's the formula I follow. I would say, hi, Kristen. We haven't in this case, if we haven't met in person, but we were on the webinar, I'm going to actually mention the webinar. We were both on today's LinkedIn webinar. Okay. Now, if I hadn't met her, I would say, hi, Kristen, we haven't met yet, but, okay? So I want to tell them right off the bat if I have met them or not. That's my first part. The next part is if I haven't met them, what do we have in common, or what things are interesting to me that I'm seeing on their profile? So in this case, we are both in Metro Detroit, and we share several common connections, including Teresa Moore. Let's connect on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller. Okay, now let's assume I think Kristen might be a good person for me to do business with. I think she might be a good lead for me. Nowhere in here have I said, Kristen, your profile needs work. I can help you. Visit my webpage to learn more about my LinkedIn services. No, I did not do that. Nowhere in here did I say, here's my Calendly link. After you connect, let's set up an introductory call. I did not do that. Nowhere in here am I pushing any information about Meller marketing. The only thing I'm using in here is a personal note that is all about Kristen. The goal here is to get Kristen to accept my invitation. The goal is not to sell, okay? So I would highly encourage you to use this approach. Be strategic about invitations. When you are sending out an invitation, you want to make the invitation all about that other person. It is not about selling, and it is not about you. When and if Kristen accepts my invitation, then I want to be ready for the next step in the process, which is thanking her and giving a one-line pitch about my business. My follow-up might be something like this. Thanks, Kristen, for accepting my invitation. Let me know if you ever have any LinkedIn strategy questions. That's it. Drop the mic and walk away. That's my sales pitch, guys. That's it. Because I know at that point, if Kristen does have questions, she'll reply back and let me know. And if she doesn't, that's okay. And if the dialogue stops there, that's okay. Because guess what? Now that Kristen has accepted my invitation, she's going to start to see my post in her homepage feed. Okay. And I'm starting to build up trust with Kristen over time. Slow and steady. I'm a marketer. I am not a salesperson. This approach works. It's very effective. And it's a little bit of a slower process, but I think it will help in the long run to build some of those really strong trust-based relationships. Okay, so that's my tip number 4, is to be strategic about invitations to connect. Tip number 5 is to post daily. So if you have not yet posted on LinkedIn this month, this week, I mean, it's Monday, so I'll give you guys a little bit of leeway there, but you need to be posting every single business day on LinkedIn. This is a person whose profile I looked up, and I'm kind of blanking out his identity so you can't see who he is here, but he works in business development. He has his own company, and this is somebody I used to work with years ago. I looked at his profile. The last time he posted, you guys, I kid you not, was 2 years ago. He has not posted. He's a business development manager. He doesn't post it all on LinkedIn. The last time he posted, he was sharing somebody's job posting from 2 years ago. If you want to be using LinkedIn for business development, you've got to remain top of mind. And a way of doing that is to post every single business day on LinkedIn. When you post on LinkedIn, I would encourage you to think about not selling in your posts, because guess what? Your posts are for telling. Your profile is for selling. Your profile, if you've optimized it, you've filled it out, you're describing who you are, what your business is all about, what the products and services are that you offer, how to get a hold of you, all of that. You're selling yourself on your profile, because guess what? When I come to visit your profile, I've taken a step to go and learn more about you. Now I am more receptive to that information, as opposed to if you are pushing a sales message on LinkedIn, my guard goes up, right? I don't want to read sales messages. I want to read news, information. So what I might do is instead, I focus on posting every single business day. And the focuses of my posts might be to inspire, to educate, or to inform. Okay? Inspire, educate, and inform. That is what I'm doing when I'm posting every day on on LinkedIn. So in the case of this person, it might just be kind of getting a post going, finding an industry article that you can share, or maybe talking about networking events that you're attending. I've got a bunch of different ideas on how and what to post on LinkedIn that I cover in future webinars, but just get in the habit of posting daily. And I would encourage you, if you're struggling with, but Brenda, I don't know what to post about today's webinar. Go on to LinkedIn today and say something like, today I attended a great educational webinar and I learned about how to leverage posting as a part of my business development strategy. Whatever, you're getting your name out there, you're letting people know what you're learning, events that you're attending. Think about, posting daily. So this is tip number 5. Make sure that you are posting every single business day on LinkedIn. Don't be like this person and post every 2 years. Okay. So that's tip number 5. Tip number 6 is to engage every single business day on LinkedIn. And this is perhaps even more important than posting, if you can believe this. And I would encourage you, think about LinkedIn as a communication source. And really, when you're going onto LinkedIn, spend the first 15 minutes scrolling through your homepage feed and think about just consuming what you're seeing there. Looking, seeing what are people posting. If something resonates with you, give it a little like or a reaction. Those are good. And if it's particularly compelling, add a comment and try to comment maybe 2 to 3 times a day and include 5 or more words in your comments. When you do that, the person will get a notification that you've commented on their post, and everybody else who's seeing that post is going to see your name in their homepage feed. So it's a great way of building visibility for yourself and driving profile views for yourself at the same time that you're building up social media karma. Okay. So my tip number 6 is to engage every single day on LinkedIn by going through that homepage feed and liking and commenting on posts. This is super, super easy. If you haven't posted in a while, this is the one thing that you do every single day this week. And as you start to read through these posts, you're going to start to get ideas on what type of posts are working really well, which ones are getting a lot of engagement, which ones are getting a lot of conversations started. You're going to notice different techniques like using questions, incorporating visuals, getting kind of comments going back and forth in the responses. You're going to learn techniques by watching others. Okay. So this is tip number 6, to engage every single day on LinkedIn. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap this session up here. I meant this to be kind of a power 30, kind of a highlights, quick hit tips on LinkedIn. I am offering a series of additional events coming up here on LinkedIn. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of highlighting the nuggets, if you will. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, I invite you to join me. I'm doing a series of LinkedIn for Business Development webinars. These are 90-minute sessions, and I'll be covering topics like optimizing your LinkedIn profile for business development, LinkedIn search, invitation, and messaging strategy for business development, finding prospects on LinkedIn, the obvious, the hidden, and more, LinkedIn posting and network engagement for business development, and then building and optimizing your company page for business development. These are small group sessions, no more than 8 people, and it's just $49.99 per session. Every person who attends also gets a link to a playback and an invitation to come and join me in a VIP group chat on LinkedIn. We're doing these about once a month now, and the next date, I actually haven't updated the slide yet. I'm going to update it here, but I think we're looking at Thursday, May 14th. I'll make sure that's included in the slide deck when I send this out, and it's going to be from 9:30 to 10 a.m. So just a quick half hour, your opportunity to come in and ask questions. It's a small group, so only the folks that are registered for my webinars are able to join those sessions. So if you register for any of those 90-minute webinars, you'll get an invitation to that VIP group chat. And then I'm also continuing on with a series of 6 tips for using LinkedIn for business development. I may be doing one in the near future here that talks about your company page as well. So definitely check out my webinar page, and I'll be adding additional topics in the future there. All right, guys. So that's all I have in terms of the content I'd like to share for today. And we've got about 5 minutes left in the session. So I want to take an opportunity right now. If you do have any questions on using LinkedIn for business development, anything you'd like to ask, feel free to drop it in the chat before we leave here today. And if you don't have any questions, I would just love it if you could just leave me a quick comment in chat and let me know something that you learned here today. If there was any new insights that you gained that were particularly eye-opening, inspiring, or that gave you some new insights on how to use LinkedIn for business development or for lead generation. I kind of started this series as a supplement. I'm doing a lot of LinkedIn for job seekers webinars right now, and I realize there's another group of folks that are using LinkedIn for business development. They're not really looking for the job search, but the budget price point might be at a different level that they can't meet with me one-on-one. So the small group webinars are kind of a solution to that, but these quick hit sessions, I think, can help to give you a little free sample of working with Brenda Meller, if you will. So just some different techniques and strategies to consider. I am not a salesperson, you guys. I'm a marketer, and I've had to figure out how to use LinkedIn successfully as a marketer to grow my business, even in trying times like these. These techniques work. They will help to create an ongoing and recurring lead generation stream for your business. So highly encourage you to think about them. All right, guys. So I want to encourage you before you leave, if you want to introduce yourself, and then if you would like to export the chat, what you can do is just go to the bottom of the chat where it says everyone, click on the little three dots, and then you can click on Save Chat. That saves it to your desktop. That way, if you want to look up other attendees later in the day here on LinkedIn, you can pull up their profiles. Their links are dropped into the comments there. All right. So last opportunity for questions, guys. It's 12:26. We got 4 minutes to go. I have time for one more question here if you have any questions about LinkedIn for Business Development. If not, I'll give you 4 minutes back to your day. How's that sound? You can go have lunch. You know, if we're here in Michigan, I told my daughter as soon as I'm off here, we're going to go figure out something for lunch. Probably going to be grilled cheese. No surprises here because, you know, she's a child and that's what she eats. So Jerry Mystery says, never knew about the gray avatar and bring more credibility. You're welcome, Jerry. I'm glad to help you with that technique. Lori learned about the comment after someone accepts your invite. You're welcome, Lori. So happy to help you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining here today. I'm going to